tasked with singing and forming an emotional connection with the audience. A group's frontman is arguably the most important person in a band. And before you come at me with, what about Van Halen and The Who and AC/DC, I did say arguably. And for most bands, this is true. If your frontman sucks, your band isn't going anywhere.
And every now and then I fall apart, and I need you now tonight.
And yet, there's a small subset of incredible bands who are very popular, and whose singers are not the reason why. I'm Nostalgic Nick with Do You Remember, and today we're looking at 10 of the most incredible bands with the worst singers. If you enjoy our playlist, please give this video a thumbs up to help it circulate. Subscribe to our channel, and remember Nick's very loose definition of what constitutes a band. The Beach Boys. Okay, before anyone comes for my head, the Beach Boys are fantastic. One of the best bands America has ever produced. But when the person who is ostensibly your frontman, Mike Love, is at best the third best vocalist in the group, then you're gonna make this list. There's just something a little jarring when after the band comes out of executing a near perfect harmony, that the song takes a turn and is now dominated by the nasal warblings of Love.
Driving up and down the same old strip, I gotta find a new place where the kids are hip.
Plus, he supposedly used to punch his bandmates in the face when they used to suggest he shouldn't be the frontman. So he's definitely docked points for that. Hey, I'm just a Wilson Brother fan, I guess. But hey, I get it. It's a combo of fear/pity, for Love plays no instrument. And let's be honest, he's the fourth best singer fronting one of the greatest singing groups of all time. Bob Dylan. Yes, I do know that Bob Dylan is the greatest singer-songwriter of our time, the voice of a generation and all that. But have you actually listened to the voice? It's very nasal. You'd think his vocal cords shared real estate with his sinuses.
I mutter something underneath my breath, she studied the lines on my face.
And I know age takes its toll on everyone, but man, have you heard Dylan sing recently? It's kinda like your drunk uncle butchering a bad Tom Waits impression. So it's not good, in other words. And yet it was Dylan's precise lack of vocal chops that helped him reach so many people, because he sounded unvarnished, real, which is why so many Dylan covers lack the emotional punch of the originals. No one but Bob could truly make you feel like you were blowing in the wind. Velvet Underground and Nico. One of Andy Warhol's weirdest ideas, which is really saying something, was taking the band he had just begun to manage, the Velvet Underground. You know, one of the most groundbreaking, influential rock groups of all time, and have German model Nico sing half the songs on their debut album.
But if you don't, let me be your eyes.
You notice how I said model and not singer there, because Nico could barely sing. It was really more like note chanting and ethereal monotone that seemed separate from time and space. A voice that no one in their right mind would ever describe as good, and yet it honestly worked. When combined with John Cale's eerie viola and Lou Reed's droning guitar, Nico's vocals actually shone. You'll notice, however, she did not appear on any subsequent Velvet albums. Megadeth. What do you do when you get kicked out of one of the most famous metal bands of all time? A band you helped found and were the lead guitarist for, right before you're about to record your very first record. Well, if you're Dave Mustaine leaving Metallica, you vow revenge and promise to form an even faster, louder band, which he did with Megadeth. Only problem was, Mustaine couldn't find anyone to sing in his new band. So, for efficiency's sake, he decided to take on the task himself. Except, there was a reason he had been Metallica's guitarist and not its singer. And well, that's because he can't sing. Like, at all. Fortunately, a barely intelligible growl is kinda perfectly acceptable in the context of metal. But when your own fans have told you to your face that your voice sounds like two cats getting it on, you know you have a problem. Yoko Ono. And now, on to the most obvious entry on this list, the famous artist, activist, and sometimes singer Yoko Ono. And if you've ever heard her voice, you would certainly wholeheartedly agree. Stuck somewhere in that vague realm between fingernails on a chalkboard and methed out cats having an existential crisis.
That's why it's so easy to be.
Listening to Ono sing can at times be literally painful. Go rewatch the recent Beatles documentary on Apple and focus on Paul McCartney's face as Yoko warbles and screams. Amusement, horror, exasperation, and even terror are all plain to see, and it's like looking into a mirror. The Doors. Okay, before you come at me with pitchforks, I will acknowledge that Jim Morrison is actually a fantastic singer, able to switch at ease from a sultry whisper to a low growl to a full-throated roar in the blink of an eye. Morrison is certainly one of America's great vocalists, but I would argue that for you to be a good singer, you have to actually, sing. And by the end of The Doors, Morrison was so blasted on booze all the time he could barely sing. 8-minute-long songs would grow to 20 in concert as he lay prone on the stage, basically passed out in the haze of alcohol, until Ray Manzarek's throbbing organ brought him back to life, and he'd mumble the last few lyrics. But being in the studio wasn't much better. So if great singers don't actually sing, I'd say that's pretty bad. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Next on our list, one of the most famous frontmen of the last 40 years, the Red Hot Chili Peppers vocalist Anthony Kiedis, whose voice, while maybe red, is certainly not hot. But you can't really blame him. If you listen to the Chili Peppers' early music, Kiedis is basically just sing rapping and yell singing, two genres I just invented and in which he does excel. Then, when the band made it huge, and they switched to more serious and somber fare, I don't think Kiedis' vocal cords could keep up. He just doesn't have the range to be hitting some of the notes he was striving for in the 1990s. Plus, and this may just be me here, his voice is a bit annoying. Like a whiny, high-pitched teenage boy, always in need of attention. Hey Kiedis, don't get red, I'm just reporting here, I'm just reporting. Neil Young. Okay, so Neil Young is a very interesting case, one of the most instantly recognizable voices in rock history. Equally at home growling out lyrics over intense guitar in Southern Man, or plaintively crooning about missing his childhood home and helpless. Young's voice is perfect for Neil Young songs. But nothing else, because is he good at singing? I'm not sure. He vacillates between acceptable and technically atrocious, usually on the very same record. Take Don't Let Me Bring You Down, for example. Neil attempts a falsetto for some reason, and it's quite bad.
It's only castles burning.
And yet, the song is absolutely gorgeous, and you wouldn't want anyone else in the world singing it. Someone like Freddie Mercury would take all the beauty out of it. So, long live Neil Young. I just don't know if he is a good singer. Okay, we're moving on. Rush. The inclusion of Rush on this list has far more to do with the musical proficiency of its members than any terrible vocals. And if that seems unfair, too bad, because that's just the way life's drums get beaten sometimes. Because Geddy Lee is not a terrible singer, he's fine. In a vaguely annoying kind of way, but he's not awful. But when those perfectly acceptable vocals are paired with three of the most technically gifted musicians to ever grace a rock band, they just don't hold up that well. Seriously, listen to any Rush song, and you will be blown away by the quality and variety of the guitar, the bass, and drum flying at you through the speakers. And then the singing starts, and your reaction is, not what I would have done, but I suppose I haven't sold over 40 million records either. Motley Crew. And now an honorary mention to a fallen giant, because back in the day, Vince Neil could really belt it out. But take a listen to the Motley Crew singer these days and be prepared to wince. Neil is now more likely to forget the lyrics of his own songs, as he just did at a recent show, than he is to hit the high notes he used to. Remember kids, drugs and alcohol are bad. Welp, there you have them. 10 of the very best bands or musical acts with the worst singers. And I'm done now, so it's your turn to get in the comments and let me have it. Which of these singers will you defend to the death? Did we leave off a singer that deserved some scorn? Get in the comments and tell me who was wrong for this list and who we forgot. If you enjoyed our video today, please give it a thumbs up, it really helps. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss a memory. And from all of us here at Do You Remember, I want to thank you very much for watching.